Welcome to Bigfoot and Littlefoot, story by Ellen Potter, art by Felicita Sala. Deep in the cold north woods, there lived a young sasquatch named Hugo. He was bigger than you, but smaller than me, and he was hairier than both of us. He lived in apartment 1G in the very back of Wittershin's cavern with his mother and father and his older sister Winnie. Even though the apartment was very small, there was a nice little stream that ran right into Hugo's bedroom. It entered through a hole in the bottom of the stone wall, traveled across the room, and then escaped out another hole in the wall by Hugo's toy chest. Hugo had carved a little wooden boat that was small enough to sail in the stream. He pretended that he was the captain of the boat, and he was sailing to Bora Bora or Atlantic City or some other mysterious place that his grandfather had told him about. He'd make storms by swirling his hand in the stream, and the toy boat would wobble wildly but wouldn't topple. Sometimes little fish swam into his bedroom. They were on their way to the Ripple Worm River, which ran through the north woods. Hugo pretended the fish were sharks and that they were attacking his boat. He made the noise of a shark splooshing out of the ocean and clacking its teeth. Sasquatches are excellent at making pretend noises. For instance, if you were in the woods and hear a howl, you may in fact be hearing a Sasquatch pretending to be a coyote. The fish played with Hugo for a while, but in the end they always swam out through the hole in the wall and into the big wide world where Hugo was never allowed to go. Chapter 2. Hairballs. Each morning, Hugo and his sister Winnie walked to school. Because their apartment was at the east end of the cavern and their school was at the west end, Hugo and Winnie had to walk quite a long way. The cavern floor was icy cold against their bare feet, and their breath made cloudy puffs as they walked along. Here's the map. So here's Hugo's apartment. Here's Gigi's apartment. And here's the mud pool, keyhole exit, general store and bakery, academy for curious squidges. That's their school. And there's a pool. The store, bookshop, barbershop, music shop, post office, tool shop. This is the Wittershin's cavern. And here's the compass rose, north, south, east, and west. Do you think sharks would eat a Sasquatch? Hugo asked Winnie. Don't be a pinhead, Hugo, said Winnie. She was always grumpy in the morning. There aren't any sharks in a cavern. But I might become a sailor, and if I ran into a shark, I'd like to know if it would eat me. Sasquatches don't become sailors, Winnie told him. Maybe sometimes they do, Hugo said. No, never, said Winnie firmly. Winnie then stepped in front of the apartment 1B. She gave a quick rap on the door. The door opened and her friend Hazel came out. Winnie and Hazel rubbed their elbows, it's like the picture shows, together and bumped their hips together and then said, Haka Maka Momo. That's because they were in a secret club, except it wasn't very secret since everyone in school knew about it. Anyway, the only thing they ever did in the club was make their own lip gloss. Right behind Hazel came Hazel's younger sister, Gigi. She was a small Sasquatch, as the Sasquatches go. She had 3 thin braids down the right side of her head and very good posture. As they walked along, Hugo asked, Gigi, do you think a Sasquatch could become a sailor? Gigi thought for a minute. She was a slow but excellent thinker. It's possible, she said. Hugo's spirits lifted. But, Gigi added, the Sasquatch would have to be very careful not to be seen by humans. Of course. Hugo nodded seriously. A Sasquatch could never be seen by humans. That was the most important rule. He'd need a boat, too. That's no problem, thought Hugo. Sasquatches were good builders. They could build just about anything from logs. And he would have to bring along 5 barrels of blackberries and 20 jars of acorn butter for the trip, Gigi added. Right, said Hugo. He'd bring 30 jars of acorn butter since that was his favorite thing to eat. And do you think a shark would eat a Sasquatch? Gigi snorted. Of course not. Eating a Sasquatch would give a shark hairballs. Phew, that's a relief, said Hugo. Gigi thought some more. There's something else a Sasquatch would need, she said. A navigator. A navigator? Hugo nodded thoughtfully. After a moment, he added, Is that anything like an alligator? There's the picture of the alligator. No, Hugo. A navigator is someone who knows all about the big wide world. A navigator tells you which way to go. Oh, that might be a problem, thought Hugo. Sasquatches don't know about the big wide world. They only know about caves and trees and acorn butter and berries and the deep, cold woods. Chapter 3, The Academy for Curious Squidges. Sort of in cursive writing. Chapter 3. Even though Hugo's school was in a cave, it was a cozy, cheerful-looking place. Painted in loopy yellow letters above the door were the words, The Academy for Curious Squidges. A squidge, in case you don't know, is what you call a young Sasquatch. There were 3 classrooms at the academy. Classroom 1 was for the youngest squidges. Classroom 2 was for the squidges who were old enough to know better. And classroom 3 were for squidges who thought they knew better than everyone else, but really didn't. Hugo was in classroom 1. Behind the teacher's desk, colorful letters of an alphabet hung across the wall on a long string. In a corner of the room, by a reading loft that looked like a treehouse, there were posters of plants and flowers and berries. The posters either said, Yum, or Bleck. That was a way to help squidges figure out what was safe to eat in the woods. Hugo and Gigi went to their cubbies to put away their backpacks. Their classmate Izzy was there too. Hi, Izzy, Hugo said. Hi, Yuho, Izzy replied. I got a new pack of monster cobs. Izzy wore headgear over his overbite, so it was sometimes hard to understand him. What did he say? Gigi whispered to Hugo. Mad Academy's monster cards. He said he got a new pack of monster cards, Hugo translated. Izzy reached into his backpack and pulled out a small blue and yellow rectangular package. On it were the words, Mad Marvin's Monster Cards. Collect them all. Any good ones? Hugo asked. Izzy handed the package to Hugo. There were 3 cards in the package, plus a flat piece of boysenberry gum. One of the monster cards had a picture of a fish-tailed goat, which looked exactly like the way you think it would. Another card was a lumpen merch, which is a bumpy black creature that lives in volcanoes and drinks hot lava. The last one was a snoot-nosed gint, a giant lizard with a spike on its head. The picture on the card showed the snoot-nosed gint perched on a tree limb, its mouth wide open to show its sharp teeth. Hey, said Hugo, I'll trade you some stink sap for the snoot-nosed gint. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a yellowy green ball. This was stink sap. If you rolled it around in your hand, it got warm and squishy and smelled very bad. That was all it did, really, but each stink sap smelled different, so that was interesting. Izzy took the stink sap and rolled it around in his hand. Then he gave it a sniff. Ew, he said. He thought for a moment. Okay. He put the stink sap in his backpack and handed the snoot-nosed gint card to Hugo. Hugo read the back of the card. The snoot-nosed gint spends most of his time in trees. Although its long, sharp teeth look fearsome, its most deadly weapon is the spike on its head, which is poisonous. Hugo turned the card over to look at the picture again. I'm glad snoot-nosed gints aren't real. Actually, Gigi said, someone once claimed to see a snoot-nosed gint right outside their cave. Hugo shuddered. Sometimes he wished Gigi didn't know absolutely everything. All the squidges rushed to their seats when their teacher, Mrs. Nuckluck, walked into the classroom. She was wearing her long white cloak made of goose feathers. She wore that cloak every day, even in the summer. She said it was because she grew up in a cave way down south where it was all sunshiny. She'd never gotten used to the cold north woods. Good morning, class. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, said Mrs. Nuckluck. We have lots to do today, so everyone take out your homework. Everyone took out their homework and put it on their desk, except Malcolm. As usual, Malcolm had some of his breakfast stuck to his chest fur. Today it was granola. Where's your homework, Malcolm? Asked Mrs. Nuckluck. It's still in my pencil, he answered. Mrs. Nuckluck sighed. The class worked on math first, then spelling. After spelling came everyone's favorite subject, hide and go sneak. All the students lined up by the door, hopping with excitement. They followed Mrs. Nuckluck down a long, narrow passage under spiky stalactites, which looked just like icicles dripping from the cave ceiling. They turned this way and that. So as you can tell, keyhole exit through a maze of tunnels. It was easy for a squidge to get lost because there were many different tunnels that led nowhere at all, and some that led straight back to where you had just come from. But Miss Nuckluck knew the way perfectly, and finally they came to the cave entrance. The entrance was shaped like a keyhole, so they all had to turn sideways to get through it. Malcolm and Pip got stuck because they were both trying to get through at the same time, but Miss Nuckluck sorted them out. Now they were all outside in the North Woods. We're going to stop there. There they are in the North Woods. Here's the keyhole exit. The next chapter is going to be called Hide and Go Sneak. If you like this story, Bigfoot and Littlefoot, you may want to read other books by Helen Potter.